How was your weekend with Julian?
It was good. It was so good to have him here. I loved it.
What'd you do?
Well, Friday, he actually had an interview. Well, he flew in on Thursday and
Mhm.
then he took the day off to like golf and like just relax with Mr. G, which he's here. Um,
Oh my, look at him.
he's such a
Rambunctious.
he's a little cuddle bug.
Oh, I still
Uh,
haven't formally met him in person.
I know.
Can you believe it's almost been a year since I've seen you in person?
And I got him that weekend after that I was in Boston.
I know.
It's so crazy. It's sad. It's sad.
I really don't know where the time went, to
I
be completely
know.
honest.
Well, like I moved so quickly, and I feel like I've
Yeah.
been here like such short period of time, but
How
I'm like
long have you been in
4 months
Atlanta? Like six
already.
months?
4 months already. But it
Jesus.
feels like yeah, I know. So I feel like so many things like happen. I was just watching Seinfeld.
Love.
Uh,
Honestly, I've been binging that so much recently.
I love it. It's such an easy like show to watch. I love the ones that are like 20 minutes long because
Oh,
like it
yeah,
feel like you're watching that much, but like it gets you to the point.
exactly. I am so happy to have you on. I guess I'll introduce you to the listeners here. So on my show or on the show today, I'm very happy to say that we have two guests joining us. We have my best friend, former roommate for
Yeah.
2 years, and
There's a little
dog
hat.
mom. She's a dog
Dog
mom,
mom, dog mom.
and her, I don't know, son, companion, best friend, George.
George, yeah, my son. This is my child. He's crazy.
Aw, sweet
Takes up all my
George.
time. Sweet Mr. G. He's my roommate also.
How's that been living with him?
It's been really good
Mm-hmm.
because it's something that I can come home to and that's happy to see me. And he loves to play all the time. So he's also like a good distraction from like devices, like
Mm-hmm.
TV, phone, everything. And also just gets me outside. It's always fun because he's either cuddling or sleeping or playing and being like this. A little sneeze.
I just genuinely can't believe you've had him for a year. And I can't remember, did you buy him from a breeder or how did you buy him?
A funny story how I actually got him. I got him from Craigslist.
Oh,
Julian found him on Craigslist because I was actually like looking for to adopt a dog because all of my like family dogs were all adopted, and
mm-hmm.
I love that concept because it's like those dogs are sitting like just basically waiting to get taken home.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but the time that I adopted or like was looking to adopt, there were so many other people that are also doing the same, and so those adoption like agencies were able to be really picky.
Mm-hmm.
um so they didn't like that I lived in an apartment, that I didn't have a work from home job, and I didn't have like fenced in yard or anything like that. So I got declined like 10 different times basically, and I was getting
Wow.
really frustrated because I knew I would love any dog and I applied to so many of them, but they were able to be picky, and I don't blame them because those dogs could go to like homes that did have like someone that worked from home or like had a backyard and like had the time to really like spend a lot of time with the dog. So I applied. My last dog that I applied for on an adoption agency was a Bernese Mountain Dog mixed with a Cavalier Spaniel. Obviously, I didn't get that dog because it was like a puppy, like 3 weeks old.
Mm-hmm.
Someone got it like super quick, and I was like, that's a perfect mix because I've always wanted a Bernese Mountain Dog. As
Right.
just growing up, I've always wanted that. But since I live in an apartment, that's like a huge dog to have.
Right.
So I wanted like a mix of something small. I was like, oh my God, that's a perfect mix, whatever. So of course, naturally, I was upset when I found out that I didn't get the dog, the adopted dog. And Julian goes on Craigslist naturally, and
How does one even
on
think of
Craigslist,
going to get a dog on
that
Craigslist? Like
man
that.
always is on Craigslist. His father is also on Craigslist. Like, I don't know why. I've never thought about even going on that like website ever in my
Ever,
life.
literally ever.
But no, they peruse Craigslist quite often. And so he looked up that breed, and like the first thing that popped up was one in Illinois, like an hour away from me. And I basically just on a whim, he sent me the link. I messaged the owner of that link, and she messaged back like instantaneously. and I told her which dog I wanted to meet out of the litter. He was one of the last ones, but he was like the first one that I wanted. I actually thought he was a girl, but he's obviously a boy. And then I was coming to visit you for your birthday weekend. And on my way to Chicago airport, I stopped to see him in Illinois by myself, which I was terrified because it was my first and only Craigslist like
encounter.
Yeah.
Right.
But luckily, it was a woman that had the dog, and we met at like their local police station, so it was very safe. I met George, fell in love with him, and then I picked him up when I came back from Boston on that Sunday. It was so
That's
quick.
so crazy.
Yeah.
So what was the application process like?
Literally, it was Zelle. All I did was like an application process through an adoption agency is so different than like getting it from like a breeder or Craigslist
Right.
or whatever, like personal people that have puppies. Like an adoption agency, you have to fill out like basically a questionnaire of everything, like your experience with dogs, what dogs you've had before in your life, what environment are you living in, like what do you plan on doing with dog. But with George, literally all I said that I wanted him, and I'd pay a deposit for him, which was like $200, and then I paid the full amount when I picked him up. Like it was
wow.
Just, yeah,
Easy.
they didn't ask any questions at all, nothing like that. They took a picture of me and him when I picked him up, and that was it.
Wow. Was that for their records or for you to have?
Well, they sent it to me afterwards, but it was like this family that they bred their dogs like every 1 or 2 years. Like they weren't like a puppy breeder or like a puppy farm. They just did it with their family dogs like every 1 to 2 years to get some extra cash, basically.
Wow. And how much did you end up spending when you first bought George?
So he was $1,200. He's a pretty penny.
Yeah, that is whew, that's a paycheck.
Yeah, it was $200 for like upfront for the deposit that went towards his like purchase, and then like it was $1,000 once I picked him up. But like when I was like looking for a dog, obviously like adoption is like a lot cheaper. But I was like so frustrated. Like I really wanted a dog. Like I was willing to do whatever, obviously, because I wasn't like thinking that I'd pay that much. But once I met him, I was like, no matter what price tag,
it's
like,
worth it.
You're mine, kind of a thing. And like I also like save like for everything, and I've never like spent that much like all at one time.
Right.
And it was just like kind of worth it to me in that sense, because I just like was missing this like little hole in my life. And I like don't regret it at all. And like I was able like to basically save that money back up like very quickly, because I knew it was like a big purchase kind of a thing.
Right.
And luckily like his kennel was my sister's old kennel, so I didn't have to like pay anything for that. Just like little stuff like.
What do you mean your sister's old kennel?
Yeah,
like so, the crate.
Yeah, the crate.
Okay. Okay.
Like this like a little graded crate.
Oh, okay.
Corner.
That's
kind of
so
thing.
Nice. Yeah.
So luckily my sister had that, and it's like really big, so that he has so much room to like move
yeah
around.
That's nice.
Yeah. So I didn't have to like pay anything for that. It was mostly just getting him, and that was it. And then I mean little things like food and toys.
Did he come with his shots and like spayed and neutered? I know that you had to get him neutered.
I did get him neutered.
Okay.
That was luckily it wasn't that expensive in Wisconsin. I think it was like $200, which I like thought was 700 or like 1,000.
Yeah.
The vet that I went to was very reasonable, because sometimes vets can like take advantage.
Yeah.
He did have he was like microchipped, had his like firstborn shots, stuff like that. I still had to get a couple other ones, like he already has rabies one, just like little things like that, which wasn't that bad to get. And the vet that I went to in Wisconsin, like they only did what he needed, not like anything excessive. So yeah, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, no, that's not bad at all. And then on top of that, like baseline expenses, how much is food per week and like that sort of thing? Like what baseline did you pay after that lump sum?
Yeah. So when I got him, they definitely paid like a lot for the food. The brand that they had, I think it was like $60 or $80 for like a 40-pound bag, which is like a lot for food, like for
that's
dogs.
A ton.
So I did buy that in the beginning because it's recommended to like not, because he's going through huge change of like coming into my apartment, all that stuff, to like have the same type of food that the owners have. So I did that like for like the first couple of months. And then once he was like normal, like he knew that I was his mom, all that kind of stuff, I started to wean him off of that food and
Mm-hmm.
have like a more affordable food, which is I would say like it's a $40 bag, but like it lasts like 3 months for him.
That's
So
nice.
it's
Yeah.
very reasonable. And it's like a healthy weight food, but he also is a picky eater. He doesn't eat like most dogs devour, and like also humans like devour the food that's like in front of him, like or like you, and he picks up each little kibble one at a time, and sometimes he doesn't even eat it. He'll wait till I'm done with my food to go finish his food, and yeah, he's a weirdo, but I don't know.
That's hilarious.
I'm like never worried about him getting big or like fat.
Yeah, because he's
He
obviously worried about it as
exercises
well.
regularly, and he's a picky eater, so he's so weird.
That's hilarious. So, did you have to try a bunch of different brands, or did you kind of just say, all right,
No,
well,
yeah, this one was like what my sister also gives her dog,
mhm,
and it's a pretty good brand. It's like pure and beneficial, healthy weight dog.
mhm.
So I had the puppy version when he was a puppy, and then once he turned one, I have an adult one, and it's no different, really, just like the size of the kibble. But no, I just like I feel like most dogs just eat whatever is in front of them, and if they're
Mhm.
used to it, it's not that bad. And so that's kind of what I want with that food. So
Do you ever give him people food, like human food?
yeah, he I used to give him an egg every morning with this
An
food.
egg?
Yeah, it's good for
Did you
dogs
cook
that
it for
can't
him, or did
yeah,
you?
like so they can't like really eat like runny eggs, you know, over easy eggs. It has to be
Yeah.
fully cooked. So I would like scramble an egg for him. Yeah.
And
It's
you
good for
yourself
their
would
growth.
not eat an
I know I
egg.
don't do it anymore. I don't do it anymore. I would do it sometimes on the weekends if he's like if I'm going a little crazy, but I don't eat eggs myself, and I have eggs in
I
my
was gonna
refrigerator
say,
just for him.
yeah, that's actually
It's just like the TikToks where it's like I have a dog mom that's in her 20s that doesn't have anything else to do with her life except spoil her own dog. That's me.
that honestly makes sense, and that's very on brand for you. Very
Yeah,
on brand.
especially with the eggs.
That's hilarious. Wait,
Yeah.
so when you take him out to go to parks and stuff,
Yeah.
do you have to drive to the parks, or there's one nearby, or does your apartment
Mhm.
complex have a place like a courtyard?
Well, so my apartment complex has like little dog runs. So like that's where he'll go to the bathroom because I can like he can be unleashed and he can just do his business. Like I don't have to
Mm-hmm.
like walk around, all that kind of stuff. And it's like kind of like long and narrow.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Is it like
where
the turf kind, or is it?
yeah, there's a turf
Yeah,
kind of wood chip one. He goes on the turf one, which at first he was a little skeptical about,
I
but
feel
he's
like I would be too, honestly.
yeah, but now anytime I'm around turf, I'm like scared he's gonna go, but because he's used to it. But that's where he'll like go like regularly because he can just be unleashed and I don't have to worry about him. And then there are dog parks. There's a lot of dog parks around here. There's even a dog like bar. It's called Fetch Park, and there's like a little bar outside, and you can have your dogs like run around
Oh,
everywhere.
it's so cute.
Yeah, I haven't gone yet, but I really want to go.
I think that'd be a really good place to meet people.
I know. I need to go there. I just haven't yet. But there are dog parks. Like Piedmont Park has one.
Mm-hmm.
There's another one by Atlantic Station. I've gone there. The one Atlantic Station is a lot closer. It's like a 5 minute drive for me. I haven't done a lot of dog parks in the summer though, just because of how hot it is and he is
Yeah.
out. So I usually like walk them in the mornings, like Saturday or Sunday mornings, right by Georgia Tech, and like a that gets me outside and walking,
Yep.
and b it's a good workout for him too. So that's what I've been doing right now. But once it cools down, I'll be going to dog parks. Like I did that in the spring every day, like after work, I would just get him and go to a
Mm-hmm.
dog because it's good for him to get out and stuff like that.
I'm surprised you haven't taken him like rollerblading with you.
I know I should do that. I just like I really like where I live, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not like I don't think I could do that because it's more like city like.
Yeah.
So it's harder to have a dog. And also if I have him on a leash with rollerblades, I feel like I'd wipe out every 2 seconds. So
Yeah, that's very fair.
yeah.
And with your apartment in like the area and talking about that, like obviously you're looking for an apartment that accepts dogs. So do you have to pay an additional fee on top of the fee, or are you in one of those buildings that just doesn't care?
Yeah, well, luckily Atlanta is really dog friendly, and basically like any restaurant like that, seating outside, stuff like that, any apartment accepts dogs. So you have to like pay like a deposit up front that you can
Oh,
get
okay.
like towards the like when you're done with your lease,
Mhm.
essentially. Same as a deposit, just putting down on
Right.
like an apartment. I think that was 200 maybe.
Oh, that's not bad at
And
all.
a monthly fee is like $20 for
Yeah,
them.
that's not bad at all.
Yeah, and obviously, like if you have more than one dog, it's a little bit more than that. Some apartments have like $50 like each month, which
Wow.
obviously that is
Steep.
more. Yeah, but mine was pretty reasonable
Mhm.
with like dogs. So most are pretty dog friendly. Just like the area, a lot of people like my neighbors have dogs.
Mhm.
So it's pretty common, I think, down here to have a dog.
Do you ever go on walks with your neighbors?
No, I don't know. Well, next door to me, she has a Dalmatian, and
Oh
I
my
don't.
God.
Yeah, it's kind of a big dog to have in a front.
Dalmatians are huge.
Yeah, I know. So I've seen her only a couple times. We only run into each other a couple of times. George and the Dalmatian have not run into each other, but sometimes George does zoomies in the hallway, and the Dalmatian will bark through.
Just friends talking to each other, you know. That's hilarious. So does George have any friends in Atlanta?
In Atlanta, anytime he goes to a dog park, it's like the regulars. Like he definitely gets along. But he's one of the ones that gets like chased a lot. Like he won't instigate. He'll instigate sometimes if he's like feeling freaky, but most of the time he's like getting chased. And if he's had enough, he just sits down by me and like basically eats wood chips. He's like a wallflower dog. But he loves to socialize with people, and he loves like dogs too. Like anytime we see a dog on a leash, he always wants to say hi, which I'm very thankful that I've socialized him enough where he likes all dogs and humans. He does not like little humans though. He does not like kids. No, he
Doesn't like Eloise?
No, because he met Eloise. When was that? Around January when she came to visit. Eloise, so for everyone, she's 2 years old. She's my niece. And with little kids though, they're on their level, like more on a dog's level, and they grab and they don't know how to like not grab and like just be gentle. So Eloise has 2 cats though. Like my brother has 2 cats, so she's used to being around cats, but I feel like cats kind of stick to themselves more so than a dog would. And so George didn't like the sudden movements of Eloise, and he doesn't bite or anything like that, but he will like nibble when he's playing. So you have to kind of just give him a toy to like stop. But he kind of like would grab at her shirt, like with his like teeth, and that was like, dude, no. And then sometimes he will like kind of like jump up, and with a human, a toddler, you can't do that.
Yeah, no.
So I basically held his collar like the entire time. It got a little bit better after like the second or third day, but at first it just did not go over very well. But I feel like if he was around children more often.
Oh, right.
But
exactly.
Never
that was probably his first encounter with a human that size.
And recently, a couple weekends ago, I was walking around Georgia Tech, and there's this family, like a parent, 2 parents, and 2 kids, and they were like, "Oh, can you pet your dog?" And I was like, "Uh-oh, let's see how this one goes." And they tried petting him. And then, first of all, everyone thinks George is a girl whenever they see him. And they're like, "Oh, is she just grumpy? Like, why does she want us to pet her?" And I was like, "Oh, no, like, he just doesn't like to be touched, like, all that kind of stuff." And then the parent was like, "Yeah, he's grumpy like you when you wake up in the morning." He's like, "Let him be," basically. And so he just was like, he wasn't having it.
I think I couldn't get a dog simply because I wouldn't want to have interactions with other human beings on, like, the side of the road.
It doesn't happen as often as you think. Like everyone was always like, "Oh, like he's so cute," and you're like, "Thanks, bye."
Yep, that's true.
So it's kind of like the same thing if like someone smiles at you, like if you're walking alone. I don't know. I feel like it's somewhat equivalent. Some people do want to pet your dog, but that's just a quick.
Have you ever told anyone no?
I'm trying to think. No, because he wants them to pet them, so it's like I can't say no, like personally.
Right, because he's sitting there waiting for them.
Like, stay away. I'd like, no, absolutely not. But he seeks people out usually, so I have to hold him back.
What an attention seeker.
He is a little attention whore.
And then, okay, so you're taking him on walks like every day, or so?
Yeah.
Do you have to wake up early to take him? Because you're already waking up at
Oh,
like the crack of dawn for work.
yeah, because I have to be at work by 6 at the latest.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I usually wake up at 4:30. Take him out. Yeah, I know. I take him out instantly, and we usually spend like at least like 20 minutes outside. It's
That's
not a lot.
actually really nice.
Yeah, like 10 to 20 minutes outside, depending on how late I actually wake up. I try to get up at 6, 4:30, but you know,
That's
but
insane, dude. I could not
you know,
imagine.
but like that's the thing. So he goes to the bathroom, he comes back, he sometimes eats his breakfast, but then he instantly goes back to sleep. Like I know he's sleeping like forever because that's just what he does. Like even today, like I came back at 3, he like took a nap with me. Like I don't like he just sleeps a lot, but
Yeah,
he plays like he does play with his toys, but he's pretty mellow for a dog. I'm pretty lucky.
that's very cat-like of him.
He is like a cat because he will crawl across.
I know, I've seen him.
Yeah, he crawls across the couch. He sleeps a lot. He likes to cuddle when he wants to, and he plays when he wants to. But he's pretty low key dog, which is like what I wanted because of my work schedule, and because like that's just kind of who I am as well. I just like to
Right.
chill the time. But he also like he gets me active and walking outside and enjoying the southern heat.
Oh yeah, really enjoying that southern heat wave. Ooh.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so fun. Yeah, I wish I had a good excuse to go outside in the
Yeah.
mornings and go on a walk before I started work. Because I would imagine that's a pretty just nice way to start your day.
There's no one up at all,
Yeah.
and it's
Well,
just
dude,
me.
because you wake up at like not a real time. Is the sun even up at that time?
No, it's dark.
Yeah.
I get to work and it's still dark, so it is kind of peaceful because it's just I don't know, it's just outside. Usually it's pretty cooler, like it's cool outside. So yeah, I don't know. I actually do enjoy that's my favorite thing is my mornings with him because it makes it just more wholesome and peaceful.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when you're away at work, do you have like any sort of camera or like
No, yeah, I wish I did. I haven't gotten one yet because, well, he's in his kennel whenever I leave, which
okay.
I don't love, but he's gotten used to it, thankfully. I have tried to get him to not be in his kennel when I leave, but he is a puppy still, so he chews on rugs and like that. So any rugs I have, he will chew. So he does stay in his kennel when I leave. I don't have a camera because I just know he's just laying down
In the kennel, yeah.
toys. Yeah, so it's not that big of a deal. Once I am able to break him of like all the chewing habits, I probably will invest in a camera, just like keep an eye on him. But yeah, I don't have anything like that to like monitor him.
Because I know there's some fun ones where you can entertain them and get on a microphone and yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's something to look into, I guess.
That is, I guess so.
And then what was I gonna say? So when you go on trips,
yes.
normally, so I think the only trips you've been on, you've gone to Wisconsin with George, or you were in Wisconsin with George and you left him with your parents. Those are the only 2 trips that I like know.
I went back for a wedding, and I left him here. I've left him here for a Wisconsin wedding, an Ohio wedding, and something else. I don't remember. But basically, so my family growing up, they've always used like boarding services and stuff like that. I don't see anything wrong with that, but here they're so expensive. And just in Atlanta, like everything's more expensive here, anyways. But specifically, it's like $50 a night at these boarding places.
Yeah, that's insane.
Kind of an absurd amount, right? Whereas in like Wisconsin, you'd get like 25 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I looked at alternatives to all the boarding services here, and I went on Rover. It's an app.
Oh yeah.
Dog walk. I mean, there's WAG, which is like common for like dog walking and stuff like that. But there's also Rover for boarding, grooming, dog walking, stuff like that. So I went on there, and there's this woman. She lives by herself. She has, I think, 2 dogs. She had over 700 reviews, 5 stars.
Oh wow.
And everyone else like in Rover had kind of maybe like 40 or
40 700.
So she has 700, whatever. So instantly I'm like, this girl has to be good because she's like CPR trained. She's like
Hmm.
administers medicine dog. Not that George needs that, but like
Right. Just in
very
case.
well. Yeah, yeah. And so I've used her for all of my boarding needs, and
Oh,
she
wow.
like $25 a night basically. So it's a lot cheaper. There's like a service fee but just by going through an app.
Hmm.
But it's so much more worth it because he also it's she only allows like 4 other dogs to stay with her, so she'll have at most 6 with her dogs.
Uh-huh.
And she lives by herself. She lives in like one of those like split level houses.
Hmm.
Like it's 3 different levels. But she has her own backyard for them to
Oh,
go outside.
wow. Yeah.
She has them go out every 2 to 4 hours, and he gets playtime with the dogs. Like,
You should honestly just text her off the app. That way you don't have to pay the service fee.
well, she's like no, I've tried that, but
Mm,
she's like kind of a stickler on it, which I'm like, I don't really care. I don't really go out of town too often where I'm not bringing him. So
right.
I'm like, I just booked
Whatever.
her
Yeah.
for my cousin's wedding that's in September. So
How
I'm
many
just
weddings for you?
I know there's so many. Yeah, but it's very nice to have her. And I'm so lucky that I have found her because she lives by Ponce City, which is like 10
Oh,
minutes away.
super close. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's so nice.
yeah. So I'm very lucky.
George, do you want to say anything?
He's chilling. No, he's been a cat.
So, what are some of the things that you didn't expect about being a dog mom, like both good and bad things?
Good and bad. Bad. I hate leaving the house or
Hmm.
like my apartment because anytime I see him, I just feel like not like neglecting him, but it's like I have to do things in my life, but it
Hmm.
is a lot harder when like I love being with him, so it does maybe make me want to stay home more and just like do things with him rather than going off on my own. I say that's like the only bad thing. I mean, sometimes like expenses, I guess, but I don't know. I think it's worth it. Like I don't know. I think it's worth anything for this little guy because he brings me a lot of happiness. Good things that I didn't expect. Honestly, training with him has been very good. He's a smart dog.
Hmm.
I haven't had to do much like training with him. He basically came potty trained. The only thing is the chewing that I haven't been able to crack. He's just, I mean, he's a puppy though. I can't like neglect that. And that's another thing that is good that I haven't really like. So growing up, we had puppies, but that was when I was really young, so I don't really
Right.
remember when they were puppies. I got him when he was 3 months, and I was a little scared of that because there is more responsibility when you have a puppy that
Right.
but since he was such a good dog when I got him and he basically was fully potty trained, I loved having a puppy. Like I even look back at like the pictures that when I got him, he looked so different and he looked so young. And
Hmm.
I love seeing his little growth because he has like his personality hasn't changed like at all. But like from like the day that I brought him and like trying to warm him up to like the apartment, even though it wasn't that big, like little things like that, going through that and him seeing the beach for the first time was probably about the cutest thing I've ever seen. And like
Oh,
it's also like anytime I do things alone, I don't feel alone because I'm with him. That's
right.
another like I don't feel like I'm in this city like all by myself. Like I have a little companion with me that can go everywhere with me for
Oh,
yeah. So I know it's a little sappy, but he makes life better.
oh, sweetie boy.
I know, my little baby.
And I assume Julian takes well to him as well.
Oh my god, yes, they love each other so much.
Oh,
I tell him that every time that he's away, I'm like, for long periods of time, I'm like, he needs testosterone in his life. He like can't have all this girly time. He's turning into a little girly boy. Yeah, because everyone thinks you're a girl. Everyone,
well, you you have a vest for him, don't you? Well, I guess it's too hot for that.
yeah, I don't really put him in
Simply no.
like that. I mean, he has a blue collar, but it's hard to see with his fur.
Yeah,
Like he is a little fluffy, like so his fur kind of covers up down there, so you can't really tell.
yeah.
And he is a little pretty boy. He's
He
a
is
pretty,
very pretty.
you know, he's not like masculine looking like some dogs are like
Yeah.
zero body fat. Like, he probably has zero body fat, but he's like fluffy. So you just
Yeah.
can't like he's a
It's
little
very pretty hair.
yes, and pretty coloring. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of and like his ears, he's got some highlights, like just natural
Oh,
highlights right there. So he's a little pretty boy.
must be nice to have natural highlights. I'd pay a lot of money for those.
Same, literally same.
Oh my God. Yeah. And so I guess living in an apartment building with other dogs, I guess it's not that like, is it bad with noise or anything like that? Do you ever get complaints?
No, I don't. I mean, sometimes you will hear like a dog bark, and then that'll
Mm-hmm.
get him to bark.
Mm-hmm.
But most times he doesn't bark often, but he will bark if he sees a dog like walking on the sidewalk outside. I don't know why. Like yesterday, I couldn't get him to stop barking at this one dog. So I feel bad anytime he does bark because then I
Mm-hmm.
feel bad about like my neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, like I don't really hear dogs barking that much. I also live kind of my apartment complex is a little weird. We have
Mm-hmm.
like three different buildings, and I'm on like the other side of the parking garage. So there's 4 units in my hallway,
Mm-hmm.
whereas the other like hallways have like multiple units, not like more than four. So my side of the building, it's pretty quiet, which is really nice because then I'm a little bit separated from all the noise that you would typically get in an apartment building.
Right.
But because of that, like I don't get much noise from anyone really. Like I feel like our walls are pretty thick too, so I don't hear anyone talking. I don't hear dogs barking too often unless they're outside on the balcony, which this little guy will do sometimes, which I'll feel bad, but he'll stop if I yell.
So he's pretty obedient. You didn't have to take him to any sort of training. You just train him on your own.
Yeah, because so when I got him, they told me, have you heard of those like potty like pads like that go on the
Oh, the
floor?
pee pads. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate those. And but I was told he was trained on those. And they gave me like two when I got him. I put them out in my apartment when I got him. He did not go near them at all. Like he never touched it. Like he just sniffed at it and just like,
Mm-hmm.
I want nothing to do with this. And I was like, okay, great. That's awesome. And some people too have to like wake up in the middle of the night to like take their dog outside to potty train. No, he did not go inside my apartment like at all. But
Mm-hmm.
the hard part was when we left my apartment door and had to go to the elevator, go downstairs, and then be outside. He
Mm-hmm.
thought when you and exited the apartment, oh, it's time to go. So he would go in the hallways, and we'd always like rush to the elevator to try and get him
Mm-hmm.
to wait. So he did have accidents like in the hallway because he couldn't wait. He thought immediately if I
It was
opened
time to go. Yep.
so that was a little bit hard to get him to
Understand.
yeah, to crack that one. But after probably about 2 weeks, he stopped doing it. And
Yeah.
it was very easy. It's very food driven with like little treats. So that was really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then Julian trained him to like mostly sit, shake, lay down, roll over.
Mm-hmm.
He did that just one time I was working later, and he just spent basically like half an hour to an hour
Oh,
just kind of
wow.
doing it with George, and now it's stuck. So he's very
Wow.
easy in that sense. The only thing I've been struggling with is the jumping. I try to crack that one. He doesn't do it too
Jumps.
often. Like he'll like when he especially when I get home because he's excited to see me, he'll like kind of he'll put his paws up on me, like be like, oh my
Oh,
gosh,
okay. Yeah.
like all that kind of stuff. And so he'll do that. And it's hard to control him because he's so excited in
Mm-hmm.
those instances. And when he meets new people, he'll like kind of jump up on him, which like I don't like when he does that. So I've been trying to get him to stop doing that. He'll listen if I say sit down, but sometimes he gets distracted.
Naturally,
Yeah,
as puppies do.
naturally, yeah. So anything like that, I mean, he is pretty obedient, and we've had him off leash without like anything else, and he listens pretty well, which I've never had a dog like that. Anytime my other dogs growing up, when they were off leash, they'd just run. They'd just like, I see a dog.
And that's it. Goodbye.
Yeah. He's a little mama's boy, so I don't think he'd go too far.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sweet
yeah,
George.
Georgie.
And then I remember that one time that he was getting sick in his crate, or like
Um,
making little messes.
yeah,
So what
yes,
do you do in a scenario like that? Because it's not like you can just talk to him and be like,
yeah.
hey dude, are you doing all right? Like,
Yeah, so that was I was really scared because I think he had like some sort of like not food poisoning.
mm-hmm,
He had something that upset his stomach, and I actually almost took him. So across the street, there's a emergency like pet hospital, which is like
very convenient.
that's right, but those are very expensive.
Yeah.
So he never ever has accidents in his like his kennel or his crate. And this one week he was doing it pretty consistently. And so of course I look it up on Google, which I mean people don't see because it freaks you out, whatever. I did that, and some of the signs were like really pink or white gums or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. It was white gums. I thought that he had white gums, lethargic,
Mm-hmm.
sleeping a lot, like no energy, not acting like himself. Like those are a lot of like telltale signs because it was right after he got a vaccine. That's what it was.
Okay.
Not that it was he had a bad reaction to the vaccine and he was having like accidents, all that kind of stuff. And so I looked up what those symptoms are, and I thought he had them.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course I take him across the street. It was like a Saturday night. I take them across the street, and they were so nice because they had one of their techs come out to the lobby to look at him, because they had a really long wait,
Mm-hmm.
to actually get him to see like a vet. And the tech came, and he like perked up because it was a new person. He was acting
Mm-hmm.
like again. She checked his gums, and she was like, it seems like he's fine. He might have just had like a weird like bug, so just give him chicken and rice, like a bland diet.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I did. I gave him a bland diet for a couple of days, and he was perfectly fine. So
Wow. So
that was that was my only scare, and I was terrified. Like I remember I was crying because I was like all by myself and I didn't know what to do. Like
mm-hmm.
I was having allergic reaction, but it had been a couple of days, because usually it happens like pretty quickly if they have an allergic reaction to the vaccine. But he was just, for some reason, he just had a weird bug, I guess, and he does eat things outside, so that could have been it too. But like,
Mm,
how would I know? It was like weird coincidence because it was right after him just getting a vaccine.
right.
So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
tough. And I mean, especially because you really have no metric. It was always probably your parents that took your dogs when you were going up to the vet.
Well, I actually would always go with my parents to the vet with the
Right,
dogs.
but at the end of the day,
Yeah,
it's
but I wouldn't
their
like
decision,
listen.
yeah,
Yeah,
as
they're
to
the
whether or
ones
not
that
they're
are
going to
actually
take
doing
them.
stuff. Yeah, yeah. But I always went because I always just wanted to be with the dog and like
Right.
soothe them and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. But with vaccine, that was another thing. Like I consulted my parents a lot on like things that they actually needed. But
Mm-hmm.
luckily, I did have a good vet that didn't try to get me to. Because so with my dog Joni, our family dog, she came from Washington D.C. from my aunt and uncle, and in Washington D.C., this vet for with my aunt and uncle gave my dog Joni all these vaccines that like was ridiculous. And then when my
Mm-hmm.
family got Joni, that our vet was like, "Has your dog ever been to Mexico?" And we're like, "No." And they're like, why'd she get this vaccine then? So they like gave her like absurd amounts of vaccines just for the money, like to
Yeah.
get paid for it. And
And that's the
luckily,
sad thing because
yeah,
so
it
many
is
people will do
sad.
whatever they want
People
for their
take
dogs.
advantage.
Yeah.
I know, because they were first time dog like parents as well,
Mm-hmm.
and they had no idea. They took the vet's word, so it's hard to be in like a big city like this and not know
Right.
what they actually need. But luckily, like I got most of that care in Wisconsin, and that vet was really good. But luckily, though, my parents went to that vet with my
Mm-hmm.
family dog. My sister did, so I knew that it was a good vet.
Right.
But like here, I kind of just go to Petco. It's Petco that has their own like clinic basically, because I just it's pretty quick and easy and
Yeah.
cheaper. But yeah,
That's what's so upsetting as an adult. Like when you're a kid and you go to medical professionals for advice, you just
yeah,
expect them to just
no, yeah, and be
give it to you
honest.
straight and
Yeah,
not try
yeah,
and sell you anything. But
mhm,
I was at the dentist last week and I'm a
yeah,
human.
yeah,
I like understand what's going on. I'm not a
yeah,
dog and I don't have like dog
yeah.
vaccines. And
Right.
they were trying to sell me Invisalign.
Really?
Are you
Yeah,
kidding
you
me?
got straight
Look at
teeth.
these teeth.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
insane. And
Yeah.
it's just so upsetting, especially because with dogs or with animals in general, they put the medicine under different names. And so you're
Yes.
not sure what things
Yeah.
actually are because it's
Mhm.
like Advil, but for dogs. So they call it
Right.
something else. And you're like, I don't know. That sounds pretty serious and it sounds like they need it, but
Mhm.
it's just friggin' Advil.
Right. No, unfortunately, it's like a business, so they're trying to get as much money out of you as they can. But
Mm-hmm.
it's also like, is that really in their best interest? Probably not.
Right. Which is so upsetting. And it's like you don't
No.
realize that that's what's going on
Yeah.
until you're an adult and you're like, oh,
Mhm.
wow, everyone out here is just trying to make
And
money.
that's what I did because anytime that the vets here would recommend something, I would like politely decline. Then I'd go look it up later and then
Mm-hmm.
I'd ask my parents, I'm like, does he actually need this or like no? Because some of the things down here is obviously different than up north, like Wisconsin. Like there's more bugs, there's
Mm-hmm.
more. I live in a city. I
Mm-hmm.
don't remember the specific vaccines that he needed, but it was something like basically urinating in a city, like that he
Oh,
has
yeah.
more chances of getting an infection from like fecal matter or whatever because he's around it more,
Mm-hmm.
being in the city, all that kind of stuff. And I remember asking my mom, she's like, "Yeah, that you should get that, like kind of thing." But how would I know when they just tell me this random vaccine
Yeah.
name and I had no idea. So I would usually like say no, go back, research, and then
Yep.
see exactly what he actually needed. And I felt that was like more smart than just saying, "Yep, yep, go ahead, give him that."
Yep. 100%. Because that's easily how you get scammed. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
upsetting that you have to do that, but I'm not
But I
trying
feel like
to
this is the real
drop,
world.
yeah, not trying to drop thousands of dollars on vaccines that are not needed.
Exactly. So yeah, he did have to get some vaccines just because I wanted to take him to that fetch park. They had like certain vaccines that they required. I'm like, I guess I'll give him those ones just to go there.
How much is a typical vaccine?
uh let's see, 40
Oh,
average,
okay.
probably low, but like some were like multi-dosage, like
Mm-hmm.
ones, so they had it two dosage, so it's like 40 each time, kind of a thing. I think the
Mm-hmm.
most expensive one's rabies, I would say, but all dogs need that one.
Right.
And you get that like every 3 years for the doggos. But yeah, he came microchipped and he got all that kind of stuff. So for the most part, I bought him with a lot of the vaccines that he needed as a puppy, but
Mm-hmm.
then some were just to go to fetch park. And then also that's another thing too with boarding services here. Each one of them had required different vaccines. And I'm
Oh,
like,
that's
I'm not just
interesting.
gonna get all these vaccines just for him to go like one boarding service, and then what if they're not available one week and I have to go to another one? They have
Yeah.
different things that they require. It's like a lot of things like that that's why I
Mm-hmm.
also want to do those boarding services, was because they required a lot of vaccines and they're expensive.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of things with owning a dog that you don't really consider. Like, for
No.
instance, my friend in Boston just bought a dog, and
Mhm.
we'll be out to dinner and we're about to go out and get drinks afterwards. And she'll be like, oh, I actually have to run home to go and
Yeah.
take Tootsie out to make sure that she goes to the bathroom. I'm like, oh, that kind of stinks.
Yeah, it kind of does, but also it's like it's your home base. I don't know.
Right.
It kind of like checks you in and
Mm-hmm.
make I mean, you have to be more responsible when you have like someone that depending on you.
Right.
So, but it's less work than a child.
That's so true.
A
And
child, you can't just leave at home, give it some food and water, and go out for the day.
I mean, you could.
You could, but that wouldn't be great. You probably get some child services called on you.
That is very true. But yeah, ultimately, I mean,
Hmm.
I'm not in the market to get a dog. I
Yeah,
can barely
yeah. But
figure
that's
out my
okay.
own
But
shit.
everyone has their own preferences, and I felt I was ready to have someone, but I think that there's a lot, even though there's responsibility, there's a lot of good that comes out
Oh,
of it.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, and I'm definitely not ready for a child anytime soon.
No, no.
So this is a great point in my life that I'm great with this amount of responsibility.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good test of your
Right?
responsiveness. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not there yet.
Good. I'm not ready for you to be there yet because I'm far from that as well.
Maybe 10 years.
Yeah, if that.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more. Maybe like 15.
Still a child.
Oh my God. So this will be my last question. What's your favorite story of or with George?
Probably 2 weekends ago when I up and left and went to the beach with him. That was like, I've never like taken trips by myself before, nor even ate at like a restaurant by myself either. And I just wanted to get out of here. And I don't think I would have had the courage to do that just by myself. And it was because I had him. Like, I also felt bad because I was working a lot and I felt like I didn't give him enough attention that like he deserved. And I was like, we're just gonna take a weekend to ourselves. We're gonna reset, and I'm gonna make sure that he was outside like basically the entire weekend, like going to parks, the beach especially. And I would say that's been like the highlight of like just having him, and just being also in a new city by myself, that I like kind of did that, took it upon myself to try and change it up. But also I don't think I could have done that without him like at all. And being with him, like we woke up for sunset, we saw the sunrise, and then we saw the sunset together on the beach. Like, it was just so peaceful. And it was during the sunrise, this is my favorite part of since having him. Like, that was the first time he'd seen sand, the beach, like little sandpipers, seagulls, stuff like that. And we were just sitting there watching the sunrise, and he like kind of brushed his head up against me, and like he wouldn't let me not like stop petting him. And I was like, is this your way of thanking me? Like, it was like, it was so wholesome because it was just me and him all by ourselves. And he just like kept having me pet him, because usually when we're outside, like he's distracted by other things and all that kind of stuff, but he just kept wanting me to pet him. He kept nudging like his head on me and like my hand to basically just like say thank you. And I was like, oh my God, this is how I know it's worth it.
Oh, sweet boy.
Oh, it was like such a wholesome moment with him. And I do know, I feel like I could read his little mind, so, like almost always, because I'm around him all the time. And I was just like, that was like the sweetest thing I think he could have ever done.
So that's such a tender little moment.
I know, it's a little mother-son moment.
It makes me all warm inside. Like, I'm not a dog person, I'm a cat person. No. That's cute. That's cute.
That's like the thing though, that like it's those little things like that with him that hear him bark. He's got a little girly bark. George, get in here. Stop. So yeah, no, but I know it's like, I'm such a dog person. Like, I love all animals. Like, I have this biggest sweet spot for dogs, and he is not like any other dog that I've ever had, but he's also only mine. Like, all my other dogs are family dogs, and I totally cherish all of that. The good and the bad, the accidents and everything.
All makes up for those nudges on the beach.
All for little nudges and those. Come here, Bubba. Crazy.
Look at him.
Cuddles. You say hi.
Mr. George.
Jorge. Him.
Aw.
That's it. That's my life with them.
That's all. Thanks for joining.
The sweet life of George's.
Thank you so much for coming on, to both of you. George, thanks for your input there at the end. Really appreciated that one.
Thank you Emma, for having us. I love talking about it.
Yes, I'm so glad that you were able to come on.
Thank you.
Okay, love you.
Love you.